Account or accounts opening terms and conditions. Section 1. Terms and conditions of different types of accounts. First, current account. 1. If the current account contains cash debts valued with different currencies or unequal funds, the parties may agree to such funds being added to the account provided, however, they are entered in independent sections. Sub-accounts with equal deposits, and the parties should expressly agree to keep the account as a single unit despite having several sections or sub-accounts. 2. The account holder understands that the bank, in its capacity as a collection agent, assumes no responsibility for ensuring the realization of monies or checks or any other financial instruments deposited and not credited to the accounts and not available for withdrawal until collected by the bank. The bank may refuse to accept the collection of any checks or any financial instruments. 3. The bank may settle the check value or any other commercial paper drawn on the customer's current account, though it could lead to the accounts overdrawing. The customer shall be obliged to repay all the amounts due in his overdrawn account along with the accrued interest and commissions as and when required by the bank. 4. In case of changes on the account elements for reasons following entry of such elements or posting wrongful entries, a reverse entry shall be effected or otherwise a reconciliation shall take place to make the correction. 5. If a bill discounting proceeds is entered on the account and is not paid on maturity, the party who discounted the bill may cancel the entry by a reverse entry even if the discounting party was declared bankrupt. 6. In the event of the bank granting the customer overdraft facilities to an extent and a period which the bank in its sole discretion may decide, the customer undertakes to pay interest on such overdraft at the rate specified by the bank from time to time. Interest shall be calculated daily and compounded monthly. The bank has the full right at any time, with notice to customer by appropriate means, to change the rate of interest, and in all circumstances the applicable rate is deemed and agreed to have the binding force for contractual agreement between the bank and the customer. 7. Credit balances on current accounts shall not earn interest for the customer. 8. The bank shall debit a service charge to the customer's current account for every check returned unpaid for financial reasons or otherwise. The bank will levy current account service charge as per service charge schedule, subject to variation from time to time, and the bank shall deduct such charges every month from the customer's current account. Second, saving account. 1. The bank may require a minimum deposit for opening saving account, and it reserves the right to increase the minimum deposit at any time and close any such savings account if the balance remains below the minimum deposit for more than 3 months. 2. The bank shall charge admin fees in the event that the account was closed before the elapse of 6 months of the date of opening the account. The value of such fees shall be determined according to the effective bank's policy. 3. Interest will be paid on a monthly minimum balance, as published in the bank's service charge schedule. 4. No checkbook will be issued on saving accounts. 5. The bank from time to time change the interest rate without prior notice to the customer. However, the bank shall from time to time display such rates in its head office and branches. 6. The bank will levy savings account service charge as per service charge schedule, subject to variation from time to time, and the bank shall deduct such charges every month from the customer's savings account. Third, deposit accounts. 1. The minimum amounts for fixed-term deposits shall be defined from time to time at the bank's discretion and the bank service charges schedule. 2. The depositor or the beneficiary or any authorized person is not allowed to withdraw the deposit in full or part before the maturity date unless the bank has agreed to this effect. 3. The bank at its sole discretion may allow repayment of fixed-term deposit accounts before the date of maturity. The account holder or depositor or beneficiary or authorized person agrees that such repayment of whole or part of fixed-term deposit before the date of maturity will be subject to a penalty and or any charges defined by the bank from time to time, without prior notice, as the bank may deem appropriate to be deducted before repayment. 4. The depositor who withdraws his term deposit before maturity, wholly or in part, is not entitled to get any investment return or share of interests. 5. The currency, amount, period, and rate of interest are agreed on the date of the term fixed deposit, and the customer shall be issued a receipt of the same. 6. The effective date of the fixed deposit shall be the date on which the bank receives the funds in the fixed deposit account, or any later date determined by the bank. 7. Fixed-term deposits in any currency shall be renewable or repayable on receipt of instructions 2 business days prior to maturity. In the absence of instructions to the contrary, the fixed-term deposit will be renewed for a similar term at the prevailing interest rate. 8. Except for term deposit linked to Qatar Riyal, the bank is not bound to repay in cash the deposit according to such currency, but rather shall repay through a certified check or transfer as per the original currency of the deposit. 4th, joint accounts. 1. The joint account is opened jointly by the partners or by a person duly authorized by the account holders and attested by the concerned authorities. 2. The account holders hereby authorize the bank to honor all drawings and to carry all other instructions relative to this account signed by the authorized signatories, and to debit such account any bill of exchange or promissory note so accepted or so made, notwithstanding that any such honoring, carrying out, or debiting may cause such account to be overdrawn or any overdraft thereon to be increased, but without prejudice to the bank's right to refuse to allow any overdraft or increase of overdraft unless there is an agreement in place with the account holders to allow such facilities with the identified limit, period, in other terms. Three, if the balance of one of the account holders is placed under lien, such lien shall apply to the balance share of the respective account holder from the date of the bank was informed of the lien. The bank shall stop withdrawals from the joint account in a manner equal to the share placed under lien. 4. The bank may, while making set-off between the different accounts respective to one of the joint account holders, add such account to the set-off. The signature of the joint account holders on this contract is considered as a written consent thereto. 5. If one of the joint account holders died or became incompetent, the other person or persons should inform the bank immediately within 10 days of death or incompetence, and their desire to continue or close the account. Thereafter, the bank will stop withdrawal from the joint account in the manner proportionate to the share of the deceased or incompetent person, or will freeze until the legitimate hire of the deceased or incompetent account holder is appointed. 6. Each of us, if more than one, hereby authorizes and empowers each other to endorse for deposit with the bank any and all checks, notes, or other instruments for the payment of money payable to purporting to belong to anyone or all of us, and so that if any such instruments be received by the bank without having been so endorsed, then the bank is hereby authorized to endorse any such instrument on behalf of us and to credit the same to the account. 7. Any overdraft or other obligations incurred on the account or otherwise shall be the joint and several liability of each and every joint account holder. 8. Joint account holders or their agents may not apply for credit facilities against the joint account security without the written approvals of all partners. 9. Without prejudice to the joint account, the terms and conditions of the current account shall apply to the joint account. 5th, accounts of incapable persons, minors, interdict. 1. It is agreed that the bank shall act irrespective of the accounts opened in minors' names separately or jointly with adults, according to the instructions received by the bank from the guardian, curator, authorized custodian whose name is mentioned on the account opening form until the minor reaches the legal age or given competency or competency of the interdict or established by the competent authority where he will be authorized to act upon this account. Two, the guardian, curator, authorized custodian shall stop to act upon the account when the minor reaches the legal age or competency of the interdict person is established in signing new forms and contracts to prove the new status of the account. Three, without prejudice to the accounts of incompetent persons, the terms and conditions of the current account shall apply to the accounts of incompetent persons. Section 2. ATM card. 1. The ATM card shall remain the property of the bank at all times, and the customers are obliged to surrender the ATM card to the bank whenever required. The bank reserves its right to suspend, cancel, or stop use of the ATM card or refuse to replace or reissue such card at its sole discretion. 2. The customers shall accept all transactions effected by means of the ATM card, notwithstanding the fact that such transaction may have exceeded the authorized limits and where an ATM card has been issued in the name of more than one customer. The customers agree to be jointly and severally responsible for the use of the ATM card. 3. The ATM card and the PIN are issued to the customer at the customer's risk and responsibility, and the bank shall bear no responsibility for any loss or damage from the issue of the ATM card and/or PIN. The customer is, however, well advised to keep the ATM card and the PIN secured and kept separately at all times, and where possible to destroy the PIN once the PIN number has been memorized. 4. The customer shall indemnify and hold the bank indemnified against any loss or damage occasioned by an authorized use of the ATM card due to the customer's negligence. 5. The customer must not overdraw his or her account with the bank through use of the ATM card or draw in excess of any agreed overdraft limit that he or she may have agreed with the bank. In the event that an unauthorized overdraft is created, the customer is obliged to bring the account within its limit immediately along with interests. 6. In the event that an ATM dispenses cash in excess of the amount requested, the customer undertakes to inform the bank immediately of such error, and the bank is hereby authorized to debit the customer's account with the appropriate amount. 7. The bank has the right to debit the customer's account with any charges or expenses in connection with the use or replacement of such card. 8. The bank reserves the right to amend the terms and conditions relating to the ATM card service without prior notice to the customer. 9. The bank will not be responsible for the malfunctioning of any ATM card due to any mechanical defect or any other reason. 10. The bank is not responsible where ancillary services, such as the payment of utility bills, cannot be effected either by reason of insufficiency of funds in the account or by reason of mechanical failure or otherwise not in the control of the bank. 11. When the ATM card is used in a currency other than Qatari riyals, Visa will convert the amount of the card transaction at the rate of exchange prevalent at the time agreed between the parties into Qatari riyals and debit the customer's account. Cash withdrawals outside the jurisdiction of the Qatar or local switch will involve a cash withdrawal fee as determined by the bank from time to time. 13. The bank will debit the customer's ATM card account at points of sale terminals. 3. Bank SMS. 1. The SMS banking facility will be available to all accounts of the customer who acknowledges that the service will be provided to one person, whether it is a joint or single account. 2. The customer acknowledges that where the original communication was unsuccessful due to whatsoever reason, the bank is not liable to retransmit till the next due date as per contracted frequency. 3. In the event of loss or theft of the customer's equipment or change or disconnection of the customer's mobile telephone number, the customer undertakes to notify the bank immediately and indemnifies the bank for any loss or damage on account of the customer's delay or failure to give such notification. 4. The customer undertakes to indemnify and hold the bank indemnified from and against any loss or damage occasioned by any of the following. A. Any mechanical or technical defect or failure or interruption in the provision of SMS banking services caused by any reason whatsoever. B. Disclosure of the customer or customers' PIN or password or account details by telephone if that is due to failure or defect in the telephone line or the line being under surveillance or for any reason. C. Withdrawal or suspension of the SMS banking facility without notice to the customer. D. Any negligence or mistake or any breach or non-compliance by the customer of any of these terms and conditions. E. Any fraud or dishonest conduct by the customer or any of his or her agents or employees. 5. The customer further undertakes to indemnify and hold the bank indemnified against all actions, claims, demands, proceedings, losses, damages, costs, charges, and expenses whatsoever which the bank may at any time incur, suffer, or sustain, or be put to as a consequence of or by reason of arising out of the bank providing the SMS banking facility to the customer or from the refusal or the failure of the bank in good faith to take any action on the customer's instructions. 6. All fixed outputs of statements are statements of account, and whilst the bank shall take all reasonable steps to ensure their accuracy, the bank shall not be liable for any loss or damage occasioned by any error or inaccuracy in such a statement. The customer shall not hold the bank liable for any information which turns out to be incorrect or inaccurate. 7. Charges of the SMS banking facility will be at the discretion of the bank and may be varied from time to time without the prior notice to the customer. 8. The bank reserves the right, at discretion, to reject any SMS request and may suspend the service anytime without prior notice. The bank may also terminate the SMS banking facility granted to the customer without prior notice in the event of, but not limited to, death, insolvency, bankruptcy, breach or non-compliance with terms and conditions, or any agreement with the bank or any other cause arising out of the operation of law or any reason the bank considers reasonable. Section 4. Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, FATCA. One. The applicant acknowledges and undertakes that the FATCA information provided is true and correct, and if should there be any subsequent change to the noted declarations, the customer is required to inform Doha Bank of such change within 30 days of occurrence. 2. The applicant takes all responsibility for any untrue or incorrect declarations and indemnifies and holds Doha Bank harmless against any damages, claims, or demands that may arise in the future. Section 5. General Provision. One. Correspondence of the bank is deemed to have been delivered to customers once it is dispatched by the regular mail on his last given mail address. 2. Interest on debit balance shall be calculated and added on monthly basis to the account based on a 360 days year. The bank may impose commissions, charges and expenses such as post and telephone costs and fines or any other charges without notice to the account holder. Such charges are not refundable upon termination of any or all of the accounts and shall be debited to the concerned account or accounts according to the normal banking procedures. 3. The account holder hereby authorizes the bank to cover his current account from his sub-accounts, that is, deposit, saving, or any other credit account to meet any obligations or drawings in case there is no sufficient fund in his or her current account. 4. The bank shall always have the right to levy all banking fees and any other fees in relation to this account without notice, and these fees are not refundable when the concerned account is closed according to regular banking process. 5. The bank shall not be liable for any damages that may have occurred from delay or misdelivery of messages to the account holder as long as such delay was out of its control. 6. The bank shall not be responsible in case it failed to detect fraud, unless that was due to negligence from its side. Seven. The bank may refrain from carrying out instructions not received in writing in form of a written document bears the same customer's signature at the bank. If instructions were received verbally or through fax, telex, or any other means, the bank may carry them out on the account holder's responsibility and the account holder shall be fully liable to bear any consequences, including mistakes resulting from misunderstanding or wrong execution or issue of duplicates or forged fax message. Eight, the account holder understands that any funds received by the bank on his behalf are to be credited to the relevant accounts unless the bank received written instructions from him to the contrary, and he agrees to his sole responsibility for promptly examining all entries thereon and to give the bank written notice within 15 days of the date of the relevant statement of any discrepancy between any such statement and his own records. In the absence of any such notice from the account holder, he shall be deemed to have agreed and certified conclusively, for all purposes, the correctness of the relevant statement of account. 9. If a customer maintains an account with the bank denominated in any currency other than the Qatari riyals, the following conditions will also apply. A. The bank shall have no responsibility for or liability to the account holder for any diminution for any reason whatsoever. B. The disposal of funds by the bank in accordance with customers' instructions in the provision of this agreement shall discharge the bank from all obligations in respect of the account balance or interest thereon. C. There can be risks associated with any account denominated in foreign currency. Accordingly, the account holder accepts to be solely responsible for all such risks and any costs and expenses, however arising, including without limitation, the account holder understands that the bank will send or deliver to him a statement of accounts periodically. The statements of accounts issued by the bank clarifies the due balance of the accounts at any time, and being not rejected by within 15 days from date of sending it will be considered accepted by the client. Cash withdrawal is allowed if there is sufficient fund. The bank may pay withdrawals at discretion by bank transfer or any other suitable means provided necessary approvals and requirements from government and regulatory authorities, if any, are obtained and necessary fees paid. Banking secrecy in customers' accounts. The account holder authorizes Doha Bank with regard to his accounts at the bank and its branches inside and outside the state of Qatar as per below, and whether his account is active or dormant or closed, and without the bank and its staff being responsible and liable to the information confidentiality, to carry out the following without notice or prior approval. A. Exchange data, information and documents, and disclose and inquire about any data and information with respect to his accounts, deposits and balances with all other banks operating inside or outside the state of Qatar or their agents. B. Execute the decisions and orders and rulings issued by the criminal and civil courts, whether they are related to inquiring about any information and data of the account's balances, or providing them with copies or original documents or account statements, or implementing attachment or seizure or any other request orders, or rulings of courts. C. Reply to the inquiries and information requests regarding all his accounts, deposits, trusts, safe deposit locker, and all his transactions at the bank, which are received by the bank from experts, chartered accountants, liquidators, receivers, domestic and international authorities, investigation authority, or any other authority by virtue of law or the national interest, including but not limited to Ministry of Interior, Criminal Laboratory Department, Criminal Investigation Department, Capital Security Department, Search and Follow-up Department, etc. D. Exchange data, information and credit reports with Qatar Credit Bureau on his accounts at Doha Bank and other banks. 13. Account holder will be liable for any overdraft or other facilities arising in connection with any of the above accounts and hereby authorizes the bank to debit any such accounts with all or any interest, including compound interest, commission and other banking charges, costs and expenses, including legal costs, incurred in connection therewith at such rates as may be determined by the bank from time at its absolute discretion. 14. The rate of any interest payable on any account may be displayed by the bank at its various branches and further, the account holder accept that this may be subject to change without notice to him. Interest on any account will accrue in arrears from day to day or as otherwise determined by the bank at its absolute discretion. 15. The bank may at any time in its discretion, either at its own instance or at the instance of any competent authority and without stating any reasons, close or freeze or suspend dealings on any of the above accounts without prior notice or without being liable for consequent responsibility regardless of such account was debit or in credit, and the customer shall thereupon repay the amount of any debit balance, interest, and any other charges and expenses. 16. In relation of any dealings in respect to any of the above accounts, the bank shall not be liable for any loss resulting from death, incapacity or bankruptcy or any other analogous event unless and until the bank has received written notice of any such event together with such documentary evidence as the bank may require. Further, the bank shall not be liable for any loss, damage attributable in whole or in part to the action of any government or government authority or any other event outside the bank's control, including, without limitation, strikes, industrial action, equipment failure, or interruption of power supplies, provided that the bank shall in each case 17. In case of any amount being deposited by mistake in the account, the bank may recover such amounts and reverse such entries without notice to the customer. The account holder, guardian, custodian, curator, agent hereby undertakes not to withdraw any amount deposited by mistake in his account, and if he did so, he shall be considered to have committed a breach of trust as stipulated in the criminal law. And the bank shall have the right in this case to debit this amount to his account and charge the interest according to the rates charged on Visa cards without prejudice to the right of the bank to take criminal or civil proceedings as deemed fit. (18) Accounts consolidation and set-off. A. The customer should not open more than one account at the bank. In case the customer has more than one account at the bank, all the customer's accounts open at the bank and its branches shall be deemed an integral unit. Further, all the customer's belongings, including cash and financial or commercial papers and goods, etc., shall be deemed pledged in favor of the bank as a security against the customer's liabilities, including those yet to be matured. B. The bank may, at any time, without notice to the account holder, consolidate and merge all accounts of the account holder and conduct set-off between all such accounts and balances. C. In case of death, all the customer's obligations shall fall due, and the bank has the right to consolidate his accounts and conduct a set-off between all his accounts and balances. The securities provided for any of such accounts are considered security for the balance resulting from consolidation of such accounts into one account without any right of objection from the account holder or a third party against such consolidation or merging. (19) The account holder shall indemnify the bank against all cases, proceedings, costs, claims, demands, expenses, loss, and obligations of any nature which may result from or relate to A. The bank in good faith execute any written instructions sent by the account holder through fax or telex or email, despite such instructions may have been erroneous or sent by mistake or modified by the way of fraudulent practice or misinterpreted or distorted by communication or dispatch system. The bank refused to act upon written instructions by the account holder by fax or telex due to receipt failure of such instructions by the bank for whatever reasons, due to failure or blurred fax text or failure of the account holder to send the original fax instructions to the bank within a period specified by the bank. 20. The bank shall not be liable and is not obliged to refund any amounts withdrawn from the customer's account or indemnify him for the loss he incurred if A. His ATM, credit card, or both is stolen or lost and any one of them is used to withdraw funds or pay for purchases inside or outside Qatar, if he does not report the incident in writing immediately after the theft or loss has occurred. B. Due to customer negligence and failure to be cautious enough and another party obtained the details of ATM or credit card or both regardless of the customer is aware of such incident or not, enforce a duplicate card which he used in cash withdrawal or payment for purchases inside or outside Qatar. C. If another person was able to obtain the details of ATM or Visa card or both, even if that was not due to customer's fault or negligence, and forged duplicate cards which he used in cash withdrawal or to pay for purchases or services, and the customer failed to report the incident to the bank as soon as he received an SMS intimation message for debiting the value of any transaction paid by the forged card. "21. The account holder shall bear the risk of any message sent to the bank which may have consequences on and impact his rights with the bank despite being unaware of the content of such messages before being received by the bank." 22. The account holder being unaware of the content of his message sent to the bank shall not discharge him of the bank's claims in all cases before courts, whether before or after closure of his account with the bank. 23. The account holder agrees to fully compensate the bank against all costs or expenses, including legal charges, resulting in any manner in relation to the above accounts and under these terms and conditions, or in their execution, and in recovering any amount due or incurred by the bank in the course of any legal proceedings of whatever nature. Any grace period, tolerance, or waiver on the part of the bank in relation to the execution of these terms and conditions shall not prejudice the right of the bank for full execution later on and shall have no effect if it's not written. Okay. 25. The bank may also, at its absolute direction, issue a checkbook if a checkbook is issued. The account holder undertakes to be responsible for its safe custody at all times and immediately notify the bank if the book or any other checks contained therein is lost or stolen. The account holder understands that the bank may, at its absolute direction, accept written instructions from him to stop check payment in cases allowed by law and hereby undertakes to indemnify the bank against any loss, damages, costs, including any legal costs, or demands incurred as a result of or in connection therewith. "26. Checks and other instruments drawn to the order of the customer or to bearer will be accepted for collection but may not be drawn against until cleared. The bank reserves the right to debit the customer with the value of any return check for any reason whatsoever. "27. The bank shall not be responsible to identify of those who endorse check issued for a beneficiary and shall not be questionable if such check were forged. Customer or customers shall bear full responsibility for accuracy of endorsements on check withdrawn from his or their accounts with the bank." "28. When check or withdrawal slip drawn on one branch of the bank is presented for payment at another branch of the bank shall have the right in its entire discretion to pay the check or withdrawal slip presented or to be dishonor the same or refer the beneficiary to the withdrawing branch. "29. The account holder undertakes not to issue a check without having sufficient balance in his account. The bank reserves the right to recover an issued part of the checkbook and close the account and or inform the concerned authorities in such cases without notice to the account holder. "30. Any and all amounts credited to the above accounts whilst any overdraft or other banking facilities in connection therewith is current, shall firstly be applied by the bank to reduce any interest, including compound interest, payable until the interest is paid in full. Then and only then shall any such amounts so credited shall be applied to reduce the principal amount or any such overdraft or any other banking facilities. '31. The bank from time to time at its discretion open further accounts in Qatar Riyal or any currency if it is deemed necessary and advantageous to control, monitor, segregate and or separate some transactions from other where the bank has financial and other interests whatsoever. Such accounts when open shall also be governed by the terms and conditions mentioned herein, and the bank shall be considered to hold lawful authority in advance to do so without requiring to sign additional account opening forms from the customer. '32. The bank has the right, without notifying the customer, to debit any expenses or charges or commissions against the banking services provided to the customer as per its approved internal policies. '33. Account holders who are unable to sign, illiterate, blind, shall present a proper and acceptable ID to the bank and execute the transaction in the front of the designated staff by giving their fingerprint before withdrawing any amount. The checks and ATM cards shall not be issued to such customers unless they have an agent with an authorized power of attorney. '34. The customer, guardian, curator, custodian, or agent undertake to inform the bank in writing with any changes in the account holder's occupation, job, or RP status, and to provide the bank with any information or documents required by the bank from time to time in respect of such changes and details. '35. The bank is not obliged to accept any signature of the customer other than the customer's signature specimen approved in the bank's records, which shall remain valid unless it is amended or cancelled as per the procedures that the bank may determine. '36. The customer hereby agrees to accept cash, checks deposit, and inward remittances in his account by other parties unless he or she lodges a written request in the bank to reject such deposits. '37. The customer agrees to comply with the supplementary terms and conditions of the account opening contract uploaded to the bank's website. The bank may make amendments or additions or deletions to these terms and conditions at any time through publishing a general notice in branches or in the bank's website. In this case, the customer shall be deemed to have received the notice of amendment and it's binding for him. Okay. 38. These terms and conditions shall be governed by and construed in accordance with the laws of the State of Qatar, and the Qatari courts shall be competent to settle any dispute arising between the parties. The bank has the right to bring proceedings at any other jurisdiction. 39. Any notice or advice will be sent to either party on their legal addresses mentioned in this contract unless changed by either party with prior notice. 40. The account holder acknowledges that he has read the terms and conditions of this contract outlined in the back of this page, as well as the supplementary terms and conditions published via the bank's website, and agrees to comply with them.